Hello to all you wonderful, unique beings. It is Monday. I almost forgot the damn day. Monday, February 12th. And then for those that are watching this or listening to this tomorrow, it's Tuesday, February 13th. And we're here to talk about sports. And we'll do so every Tuesday, showing love to all of you watching on YouTube Live. We will 100% be covering the Super Bowl, which I absolutely believe this is one of the better Super Bowls. Not so much in the first half, but we'll definitely get to that. And we absolutely missed the NBA trade deadline. So we're absolutely going to get into that. And we have a special guest back, which is not even a special guest anymore because, again, he's pretty much a part of this podcast just as much as Sam and I are. But Harrison is back. So hello to you, Harrison. Let's just get into it. Now introducing the dominating and most dominant trio. Yeah, trio. Yeah,
Just
trio.
Stick with tag team.
I'm gonna go with trio because you're here today. It's the Beast from the East. We are not chasing points. Yeah, we're chasing points. Sam's here. He's the brains, the advisor. How are you doing, Sam?
Where's your microphone?
Up my ass.
Wow.
Oh, wow. It wasn't in front of you, and I was
it's far away. Yeah. Go ahead, continue. How are you?
It was almost like you were in an empty room or something.
Microphone.
No, I'm good, man. What's up?
Happy
Super Bowl hangover.
Nah, yeah, I don't think I
We're
have one of
on
those.
to the 2020. I don't either, but on to the 2024 season, right?
Yeah.
We're ready.
Yeah.
I hate when teams post like right after the Super Bowl, like season starts now. I don't like it. Not a fan.
No thanks, man. Yeah. Let's get through the league year and all that crap first.
Agreed.
Not a fan either. Harrison, since you are chatting, how are you doing?
I'm swell. I thought it was a great game too. One of the better ones is maybe a stretch, but it was a great ending and a great second half. So I enjoyed the whole game. But tough to stack it up there with some of the great Super Bowl games.
Definitely did not enjoy the whole game, especially not the first half. The second half, absolutely enjoyed. But that's that. I am just here so I won't get fined. I am Brandon, and this is episode 123 of the Chasing Planes podcast. So, gentlemen, we've already scratched the surface on this, not even really, but the Super Bowl was yesterday for those that are watching us live on YouTube, and those that are listening, you now be 2 days later, tomorrow when this podcast drops. But a lot to talk about, a lot of storylines. We spoke about this last week on what were key factors that needed to come into play. And a lot of them, I wouldn't say a lot of them, but several of them came to fruition of us chatting about it. And there's just some things that we definitely and absolutely did not see being a part of this game. So let's get to the score to start this right off. The Chiefs win. Super Bowl 58 with the score of 25-22 against the Niners, the Whiners. Patrick Mahomes threw for 333 yards. Now, I'm just going to stop right there and speak to both of you. Did it even feel like he threw for 333 yards? Because it sure didn't feel like it to me.
No.
Okay.
I mean, they had 16 yards in the first quarter, so pretty impressive.
That's fair. That is fair. I'm just still kind of puzzled how. Well, I mean, it's Mahomes. It just was weird how it started off. But he was 34 for 46 with 3 touchdowns, 1 INT. And that's his first interception in the playoffs and the first in the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. He also led the team in rushing with 66 yards on 9 attempts. So now him and Steve Young are the only quarterbacks to lead their teams in rushing and win the Super Bowl. And Mahomes now also owns the record for the most career rushing yards in the Super Bowl history. So now that adds to his 3 rings and 3 Super Bowl MVPs, and he's only 28.
I know. We're talking about his passing yards too, and I was looking last night. I was like, "How did Kelsey get 93 yards?" I just feel like he wasn't really involved. I know he had that long one for like 20 something yards, but like
an OT. Yep.
yeah, I was like, how did that happen? But yeah,
Mhm.
no, it was a perplexing game, especially to start there. I mean, we'll definitely dive into it, but it was I turned to my friend a couple times and was like, this is a legacy moment. And
Yeah.
it happened every time. Like Patrick just was like, all right, I'm not fooling around, I'm just gonna run.
Yep.
And like he would just, and he didn't slide when he should have. He like kept going, and luckily he took care of the ball. But like it was like, all right, I am not letting us lose this game. And that is like just, we're gonna blow a lot of smoke today up, with Patrick Mahomes, but it's deserving. I mean, like it was like just a great performance, even though it didn't necessarily jump off the stat sheet. And a lot of the play throughout the game was, hard to watch at times, but it was like it was a legacy moment for sure.
Yeah, I said last week, Hayes, I was like, we were kind of talking about which would be his kind of favorite or his favorite Super Bowl. And I leaned towards like the last one when he got back after losing to the Patriots and beat the Eagles and got back to the top. But I'm gonna say this one now because the way he performed, he was basically him. Like it was all him.
Yeah.
The 49ers, I didn't really see it coming, but they were the better team. They should be kicking themselves over and over again for all of the missed opportunities they had. And the only reason the Chiefs won this game is because of Patrick Mahomes and his greatness. And I could see him having this as his most memorable game and most memorable Super Bowl performance. Like you're driving down, you're winning the game with no time left on the clock. So, this definitely switched my thinking of what would be his most impressive performance. And I guess he'll probably keep raising that bar. I don't see why not.
Yeah, I don't either. But it's impressive because you just made a point that I thought about to myself. Last year, they were not the better team against the Eagles. The Eagles were the better team and were the best team all year. And the Niners were the better team compared to them all year. And they beat both of them. And they beat both of them in the second half. And there was too much time given to Mahomes in both games. And he just stepped up and showed it. To your point, he is him. And the game and the play that they won the game with, the Chiefs, is the same play that they won last year with, which is putting the guy in motion putting in motion and then sending him right back out in the flat and catching it.
Yeah,
and
they do that all the time in the end zone. Yeah,
it's so wild because it's something that they do, but you don't know when it's going to happen. That's the thing. You can know it's possibly going to come, but you don't know when it's going to happen. So let's get to some more stats. You've already mentioned Travis Kelce. He had 93 yards with 9 receptions. He led all Chiefs receivers. We'll get to the other side. Brock Purdy threw for 255 yards. He was 23 for 38 and 1 touchdown, which I can't wait to touch on that. So we'll get back to that. CMC had 22 carries for 80 rushing yards. Wasn't enough. 8 receptions for 80 yards. Wasn't enough. Debo, crybaby ass Samuel, had 3 carries for 8 yards and 3 reception for 33 yards. But apparently he's him to himself. The guy that would have won MVP if the Niners would have actually won would have been Jawan Jennings? Jawan Jennings,
yeah.
Who threw a touchdown and caught a touchdown. So he and Nick Foles are the only players in Super Bowl history to throw a touchdown and to catch a touchdown. Brandon Ayuk only had 49 yards, 3 receptions. Kerry Kittles or George Kittles, Greg Kittles, whatever the hell his name is, whatever his name is. 2 reception, 4 yards, which was very, very interesting. So I'll stop there. Out of those, kind of what stood out that surprised you that did happen or didn't happen?
For me, it was
off the gate.
basically.
Go ahead, man.
Well, for me, it was basically Christian McCaffrey not seeing the ball in the third quarter. With that lead, and they kind of went away from the run. I think they ran 6 or 7 straight passing plays, and what was getting to them to that point was dominating the line of scrimmage and running the ball.
Yeah.
So for me, that was super perplexing. Obviously with Debo, he had the hamstring injury and was definitely not 100% the rest of the way out. And then Jawan Jennings, like you said, he came kind of out of nowhere and he had a masterful performance and he was kind of the best player on the field on the offensive side of the ball for the Niners. So, just not enough. Like they weren't bad. They dominated a lot throughout the game. Almost all the game, they were pretty much dominant except for that third quarter and the end of the fourth. But that's kind of where I have it.
Yeah, they led the majority of this game, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, why not try? You have the best running back in the league. He just won Offensive Player of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, you have the best running scheme in the NFL. And it's just like salt the game away a little bit more. I don't know if it was like an element of surprise kind of thing. I mean, Brock Purdy, it was again, although the inverse now, instead of like second half Brock, you had a much better performance in the first half. Like if he played that way the whole game, the Niners win the Super Bowl.
Yep.
I'm not saying that he didn't do enough, but could have done more. But yeah, I think it was a little too late by the time Shanahan got to say, all right, CMC should get the rock more. And that, I mean, they reference it on the broadcast a lot. That the Chiefs D was tired. Like they were on the field the whole time. They're saying how Spags doesn't really rotate guys out too much. And like, you're just gassed. At one point they were on the field like 5-6 minutes, So that's why not give it to one of the best offensive players in football? I don't know. But you could look a lot of different ways where this game was lost. I was joking with you, Harrison, before the podcast that there was a prop bet of over 2.5 players to throw a pass, and that I made a mental note that I should take, and I forgot about it. I didn't take it, and it would have hit because Jawan Jennings throwing bombs out there. But yeah, they lost this game in a lot of different ways. I saw this. We can. I'm sure we'll talk about Kyle Shanahan and his lack of performance in the second half of Super Bowls as a coordinator, as a head coach. But he has scored. I wrote this down. He has scored 3 combined points in the fourth quarter in all 3 of his Super Bowls. His team 3, and that was the Jake Moody field goal in the fourth quarter yesterday.
Yeah.
So as much as I don't want to pound the Shanahan narrative here, it's you can't win doing that. Not with the best quarterback of this generation. You can't.
No, it seemed blatantly obvious. He's just overthinking it. Like he just overthinks it. Like hand the ball off. You got the best running back in the league. Keep pounding it. But yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't know what happened to me, but I'm back.
Welcome back.
Keep rolling, man.
Keep rolling. Yeah, we're good. We're rolling.
What did we get into the longest field goal in history yet?
Nope, not yet.
Not yet.
Well, since we were talking about Moody, let's get right into it. So Moody, literally, Jake Moody breaks the Super Bowl history record of the longest field goal, which was 55 yards, only to have it broken later on in the game by Harrison's long lost cousin, Harrison Buckner, with 57-yard field goal, which was a straight dart. It was very, very entertaining to see that go through the uprights. Again, I always feel like every year in the Super Bowl, there's always some crazy amount of history being broken somehow, some way. I don't know if it's now because of it being more of an offensive game now that we're seeing more records that we thought probably would never be touched, right? And also, obviously, athletes are getting stronger. There's more, I guess, strength and conditioning that wasn't available and accessible prior to with all the older records. But how long do you think this record will stand? You think it's just going to stand until next year?
I didn't even know. It doesn't even seem like long enough to be the record, as you just pointed out. Like
it was a 30-year record.
Yeah,
That's
that's just wild.
wild.
Especially
So
with,
that's just like a complete statistical anomaly.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
That's just all it is.
I mean, you could make a case especially if it came to a game-winning field goal, that you could give Butker the MVP, because
Yes.
he was
Yes.
just. I mean, he's one of the better kickers in the league, but like he just showed up, and he's had a great year all year. I don't think he missed from 40 out all year, they said. So like, I mean,
I think he was like 7 for 7 on 50 plus.
Mhm.
yeah. Like, how many kickers aside from Justin Tucker would you want on your team right
There's
now?
like maybe a handful.
Before
maybe a
Harrison
handful.
Butker, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's like he's like second for me.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, so yeah, just a hell of a performance. But they back to the Chiefs for a second too. Like, they were completely rattled. You don't see a team like they showed a lot of this through the regular season, and they had a lot of growing pains and a lot of drops and a lot of miscommunication, and they just all of a sudden, when the playoffs came, or when it came crunch time at the end of the season, they cleaned themselves up. They did what they needed to do. They were poised and all that, and then all of a sudden, you you just
I think
I
we
lost him for a
lost
second.
Sam. Yeah, I think Sam was lost.
No, I'll just add on there too, like with the Chiefs being completely rattled. Like
Oh.
obviously the the entire game was not of a great standard of football, especially that first half. But I found the first quarter extremely interesting from the sense of like the Niners straight just punched them in the mouth. Like
yes.
they came
Dominate
out
on both
dominant,
sides.
like
Yes.
absolutely
Yes.
dominant. And then like I was like, 10 minutes in, I'm like, wow, my pick is very wrong here. Like they were controlling every bit of the game. The only thing that kept the Chiefs in it was literally special teams. And getting a crucial turnover on a fumble, and then being able to kind of pin them back a little bit and make them drive long down the field. But that first quarter was not well played, but super, super interesting from the standpoint of like, whoa, this Niners team is not exactly, what we saw the 2 weeks before against the Lions. And, going into it, obviously they're a very good team and very deserving of what they got to be and in the Super Bowl. But to the way they kind of put it on the Chiefs to start, I was like, wow, this could go very, very wrong for the Chiefs really early, without kind of an end in sight.
I agree with you. Like I was like, I'm half in agreement with you and half not in agreement with you. What I felt at that time, because I know what my eyes saw, right? And what my eyes saw is exactly what you said. You're seeing this, you're like, oh shit. The Niners are dominating both lines, a lot of scrimmages. There's nothing that the Chiefs are doing at this point in time. But also at the same time, I'm looking at the score and it's just 3-0. So while they're dominant, they're also not putting up points like that, right?
Yep.
So I'm saying to myself, okay, this is nerve-wracking, because what I'm seeing right now is that the Niners are essentially doing whatever they want, but they're not scoring, right? So in my mind, seeing that, I was like, but there's still Patrick Mahomes on the other side. And I keep telling myself, I said it before, I'll say it again, I'm not betting against this man, because I know what he's going to do. And I watched it and felt it personally as a fan last year when he did it against my team in the second half. If you give him any points, and he's had, I think it's now in the Super Bowl, he's had 3 comebacks in each of his Super Bowl wins, and being down by 10 points in each. Yeah. So needless to say, be up by like 21. Don't be up by 10. Be up by 21 and do whatever you possibly can do to crush them. So yeah, I just felt that.
Yeah, and that definitely switched, obviously, from, when you get to the second quarter and then you're only down 10-3, then it's like, oh, well, now the 49ers have completely missed their chance and opportunity. And this is like a slow motion car crash for them. And, obviously, I didn't enjoy watching Brady do it for so many years. But I will say it is a whole lot more fun when the guy you're kind of rooting for is doing it. So I kind of see I kind of see where people are coming from.
I'll root for Patrick Mahomes as long as he's not facing the Eagles. I don't really care. I enjoy him. I love his play style. It may be annoying because you're watching him win over and over and over again, but it's just, to me, a comparison to him and Brady. Like when Brady just did it, it just annoyed me every step of the way.
Every time.
Like, every step of the way. And I wasn't even in that division. Like your team is in that division. So for me, it was just like, I just hate it because New England fans were just super obnoxious, and we had like a ton around here. So I would just hear it nonstop over and over again. So now I just love that they have fallen flat on their face and can't even say anything except for talk about old rings. But there's that. Let's talk about what has become now a meme, a GIF. Everybody has used it as a way to promote their social media today, but it is Andy Reid and Travis Kelce and their sideline dispute that was super broadcasted and illustrated everywhere during and after. So I'll just say this first. For those because there was a lot of, we all know Super Bowl always brings a bunch of casual watchers. I feel like this year definitely more, right? Because who was there. It is what it is. But I felt
Jermaine
like people
Dupri,
were
right?
Jermaine Dupri, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But there is so many people like, well, like I can't believe he's doing that to his coach. First off, that happens often. I don't agree that Travis went at Andy like that on such a big stage, but it's not the first time. It won't be the last time. Literally, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce threw his helmet down. I don't know if it was this game or a previous game. Threw his helmet down on the sideline. Was so pissed. The equipment guy went to go give Travis Kelce his helmet back. Andy Reid said, no, he doesn't get it back. He doesn't deserve to get it back because of how he was acting. So Andy handles it in a certain way and whatnot. But I'm just curious what you both think of.
Yeah, I think, if you were to ask Travis Kelce, like, lie detector test, he clearly went too far. And in the heat of the moment, this team is getting, like, they are just outmatched. They just can't they're trying to figure out this. Excuse me. Steve, you got to give Steve Wilkes and the Niners like credit there. They just confused the hell out of Mahomes and the rest of the team. And again, drops, just miscommunication all year. If you were to ask Travis, I'm sure he would want to run, not run that back that way. But you're going to get a lot of people that don't see that normally and are confused. I think it was too much, but and if it was a regular game, I'm sure Kelce would be on the bench for the rest of the drive at least or something. But these guys know each other so well. They need each other. Like Travis Kelce is a good dude. Andy Reid's a good dude. That like everyone is frustrated. I'm not too worried about it. I don't think any differently of Travis Kelce because of it. It's just football. He probably regrets going to that extent, but it kind of gets washed away because they won. If not, you could probably there'd be a lot of discourse about just the mess that this team was on the sidelines. Between that, Snead getting that penalty, this team was clearly rattled. But Harrison, I don't know about you. You're nodding your head in agreement. It looks like so. I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say should have put this in like the "Do you care" section. Because like to me it was a nothing burger. I mean, obviously you don't want to come into physical contact with your coach, but we know the relationship that these two guys have, and it's been a prominent relationship for their time together as coach and player. So when I saw it, I wasn't concerned at all. Obviously, you have it at a heightened level of kind of attention in every media outlet, and Joe and Schmo and Peggy and Sue or whatever that may be are going to pick it up and run wild with it. But that's just the heat of the battle. And they were obviously very rattled at that moment. All of them were. They all had to be. They didn't expect to come out and put up 16, yards in the first quarter and be kind of fumbling at the goal line. So I saw it as nothing. I saw it as just two competitors. Well, Travis more so in that sense. Andy Reid was probably a little calmer. He's been through this a bunch of times, but just two competitors in that moment that just got something completely overblown. But yeah, I wouldn't kind of pay any mind to it as much as kind of obviously the media did and people ran away with it, but they're obviously fine.
Yeah, no, it's nothing. I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure Travis apologized too.
He did.
I'm not on his payroll or anything. I'm not trying to like, but it's just that's football. So
Yeah.
it's just he's a target. Everyone on that team is a target because of just the situation. And yeah, it is what it is. But fortunately for Chiefs Kingdom, right? They won, and
Mhm.
that's it. So speaking of just Chiefs Kingdom, a record 67, almost 68 million Americans were expected to bet almost over $23 billion on this game. And I think last year it was like 16 billion was bet or
Wow.
something. So I think just having Vegas be the backdrop for
Mhm.
the biggest gambling event of the year anyway is kind of led to that. But did you place any wagers?
So I actually can't. I'm a athletic
Okay,
employee.
gotcha. All right,
Yep. So I'm clean and clear.
there you
Um,
go.
I
but
didn't,
I wish I
just in
could.
case you
I
cared.
mean, I think betting culture is obviously it's interesting. We're around it a lot in college athletics, and
Mm.
we get a lot of notifications and from gamblers and people that bet the under on our games for some reason. But it's yeah. I try to steer clear of it, but it's ever present, and I don't know. Soon enough, we'll all be able to bet on everything. I mean, even our conference tournament is in Atlantic City, so that's
Yeah, I'm
it's
sure people are
it's
betting.
all
Yeah,
around. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
I just think it's so wild, and I think that's part of the conversation of the narrative that people have been running with of saying that the script is out and whatnot. Is ever since betting has been so accessible now, instead of having to go to an actual casino and place a bet, now you can just do it on your phone. People feel that it's so rigged or so set up to have certain payouts because Vegas needs a win and so on and so forth. And normally I would agree, because if we were in Vegas, I would 100% that Vegas has to win. Ironically, the Super Bowl took place in Vegas, so I can only imagine what people thought after this outcome. But a lot of money being spent, and there's going to continue to be a lot of money being spent, and certain arenas now have their own sports
Books,
betting
yeah.
inside of them. So it just kind of is what it is. It's a part of the culture now.
Yeah, I mean, Vegas didn't win. I mean, they won from just a backdrop and having the world be on them for a week and having so much commerce going on. But yeah, I mean it still was weird to me that the Chiefs were the underdog and plus money. I don't bet too much. I bet on the Chiefs. I won some money. That was nice. But they didn't win yesterday. But grand scheme of things,
as Mahomes
it is
said,
what it is.
we're never the underdog. So, and I believe that. So there's that. Being that they believe they're not the underdog, and we all pretty much agree to that, there was a conversation that we had last week, and you both said that this was not a dynasty. So I just wanted to circle back and see if your thoughts have changed now that they have won.
It's the start of one.
Okay. So this last night, our text thread was just speaking of being on payrolls.
It's just not.
God.
It's not. You have to win 3 in a row to be a dynasty to me. In any sport, it's got to be 3. It's got to be 3.
Has anyone ever won 3 Super Bowls in a row?
No.
I'm just like I said this last week, and I mean I think it is. I don't think it even matters, but this is if it's not a dynasty or if it wasn't a dynasty on Saturday per se, like it's as close as we're getting to one. For the immediate future here, because it was just greatness there. Patrick Mahomes has played in the NFL 6 years. He has been in 4 Super Bowls, and the other games that he wasn't in a Super Bowl, he lost the AFC Championship game. And when he lost, like, who do you lose it to? Like, were they both to Tom Brady? Like, one was to Tom Brady. What was the other one? I don't even remember. But like, it's like
Yeah.
that's like dynasty level play right there. I mean,
Yeah, I mean they're super close. I guess
I don't even think it matters. Like, who cares? Like,
yeah,
I mean, I know
yeah,
we're
agreed.
talking about it
Agreed.
because everyone seems to ask this question, but I think what we're really good at, the three of us, is just kind of
Yeah,
like, who cares? Like, it's
yeah,
just, it's not important. This team is all time, like, just as far as just the collective talent and coaching and schemes of this team.
abs-
Like, it just, just
absolutely. Yeah,
it's been fun to watch.
we're not all three of us were not very hot takey, so it's like
Yeah.
it truly doesn't matter. And for me, like it's a culmination of all of the work that's been done. So they still got years here. And will we look back on this team and say they are a dynasty? Probably. Yeah, we
Yeah.
probably will. Obviously they've won 3 and 5 years. Yeah, 3 and 5 years because they lost to 2 in between. And if they get 4 and 6, or if they get, if they don't win next year and then they win 4 and 7 the year after, we're gonna look back and say, obviously, remember this team really well. Remember Patrick Mahomes. He's obviously one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time already. So will they be a dynasty? Yeah, probably. I'd put a lot on that. Are they yet? I don't know. It's just semantics of what you call a dynasty and what you don't. So yeah, I'm with you. It doesn't really matter if people are calling it a dynasty or not. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're a prisoner of the moment, and
Mhm.
now, just like Jordan is the benchmark for LeBron's legacy, it's clearly going to be Brady's the benchmark to Mahomes. But like, even before that, I mean, Montana, Troy Aikman, like, you just thinking of guys with multiple rings and big performances, and it's like,
Mhm.
there's just so much, like, just it's sports. There's stats, and stats are real, and numbers are real, and they can help prove things. But at the end of the day, it's just like, it's opinion. It's
Mhm.
this Chiefs team is going to be looked at as just a great collection of talent and what it was, and it's okay regardless of what it is. It's there, but that's how you're judged. That's how you're judged in this, um in sports,
Exactly.
right? It's by
No,
what's
exactly.
on your finger there. So
Exactly.
yeah.
I mean, no disrespect to kind of like Brandon's Eagles, but like they won that championship, 2 years ago. Will I remember that in 10 years? I'm not sure. Will I remember this Chiefs run because they've won so many times in the last couple of years and they have Patrick Mahomes? Yeah, I'll probably remember that. But like it is different than the one-off Super Bowl champions when you're trying to rattle off, those lists of who's won in the last 15, 20 years. It's different in that way.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And speaking of legacy, I know we've touched on it pretty much all season with Brock Purdy, but I was ready to say the first half of this game that, like, I never want to hear game manager with Brock Purdy again. Now the second half, I'm not putting that all on Brock Purdy, but I think it still gives a lot of ammo to the people that just don't, that
Say his
are,
name, Cam Newton.
I don't want to
Cam
say his. I
like,
don't want
it
to
just,
say his.
Newton.
at the end
Camden?
of the day, Cam Newton has as many Super Bowl wins as Brock Purdy. So,
He also has an
it's
MVP, has way
sure.
more yards and all that, and was a game changer. Brock Purdy was
Well,
not.
right. I mean, Brock Purdy is still have, hopefully, for him, a decade plus in this league to go.
Correct.
And hopefully he can stay in better health and have better luck than Cam Newton has had, because, when it's over, it's over, and it's really hard. It's hard to watch. And I'm sure, as an athlete who has spent their entire lives training
Mhm.
and focused on, their career goals, to have the game pass you by, it's got to be rough. But
So are you saying that he made his opinion because the game has passed him by?
No, no,
Because
no,
because his
I don't.
opinion because his opinion was that
His,
him, Brock Purdy, Kirk Cousins, Dak, Tua are all game managers and are not game changers, which realistically speaking, none of them are technically game changers. Dak is kind of the guy that I was the only one I was like, but Dak has really not stepped up to any moment at this point in time, and we've seen him for several years now. Tua still has a younger career, and Purdy definitely is still a super young career. So I don't think what Cam said was wrong at this point in time when he
no, I
said
don't
it,
think so either.
right? But
I would argue it is. Why is Purdy in any of these conversations yet?
That's a fair assessment.
That's been my
true.
whole thing with this Purdy
That's
thing.
true.
It's like why do we need to label him right now? It's literally his second year. Like, and not even his second year. He didn't even have a full first year. Yeah. So why is his name in any of these conversations on if he's a game manager or what? It doesn't matter what he is. He's nothing yet. Can we see what he is, please?
Just you see this with, I think, because of Shanahan and the scheme and everything. Because how long did it take, for Brady to shed that? Because Brady got, it's not as out there as it is now because of the internet and everything else. But like Brady had that game manager tag for a while. Like when was that shed? I don't even remember. But at the end of the day, he's just playing his game. Here's the last pick in the draft. And I don't even think he seemed rattled at the end.
No.
But for the first 2.5 quarters of this game, he was fine. He was cool as a cucumber, just like doing his thing. And he was playing really well. And again, he had some bad first halves in the previous 2 playoff games, but he showed up and he played a hell of a game, and it didn't work out here, but jury's still out. It's okay that the jury's still out.
Exactly. That's all I'm saying.
But you've said Brady. Didn't Brady win a Super Bowl in his first or second year? Was it his first year when he finally came in for Drew Bledsoe?
I mean, his first playing year, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
because I think he was around for a little bit.
That immediately, in the standards of media, eliminates the game manager. Even though he only had a short period of time, he's got a ring already. So once you get a ring, you start going into a different conversation. To Harrison's point, which I do agree, we see it the same way. Why are we putting Purdy in anything when it's so young? But how this NFL has shaped up to this point in time is these guys that come in and have he obviously was Mr. Irrelevant. So again, to your point, Harrison, it's just like he shouldn't be put in any box yet. He was Mr. Irrelevant, and he's now come in and he's kind of just jumped onto the scene and has been this guy that's been able to help carry this Niners team that's already built to win, right, and get them to the next spot, right? But it was still the same outcome. But this is what media does, and this is what the NFL is now doing with these young guys is you're a number 1 pick, or you're a guy that comes in and is really, really good automatically. You got to be up to the top. We got to put you in these conversations right away where people like us are having realistic conversations and like, well, we shouldn't really be putting Purdy anywhere yet because we don't really know what this is. He could just have 2 really good years, right? And it could just be the system, right? He could just be a guy because Jimmy G was in the same system, got to the Super Bowl and still lost, right? So
we did the same thing with Russell Wilson.
Exactly.
But he took the other turn. We were like, oh, he's a superstar.
Yes.
And then 2 years down the line, it's like, oh wait, no, was he a system quarterback? So yeah, no.
But Hayes, I don't think the Super Bowl win is the tiebreaker there. I mean, for Brady, because Brady's clearly special, and we have the ability of hindsight to have this conversation. Because I'm sure if it was 2003 or whatever, we would probably look at it a little differently. But like Trent Dilfer has a Super Bowl win. Brad Johnson has a Super Bowl win. There's other guys. It's just like I don't value those guys as, legendary quarterbacks or, more than a game manager. I think, they both had dominant defenses, great running games.
Yeah. I would say the only, I I guess I see one side of it with like kind of putting Purdy in these conversations early like this. He does show flashes of it, and he did show a lot of flashes of greatness in this game. Like he made some really, really good throws using his feet, getting around the pocket. He is a very, very, very good quarterback, and I do think he can be pretty elite quarterback at the NFL level if we kind of just let him develop and get there. So I guess I see why it's an interesting conversation. It obviously drives clicks. We're obviously talking about it right now, but it's still so early to even put him in. Why does Cam Newton have beef with him? Like, let the man breathe for 2 years.
I don't even. It wasn't even. It wasn't just Purdy. It was just in general of him saying this, and everybody just went so crazy and talking about Cam. Like, oh, he's saying this and he's bitter and blah blah blah. It's like, but no, he's an actual quarterback that played in the league at a high level. He was an MVP of this league, went to the Super Bowl. Yes, he obviously didn't win. So I actually value his opinion, and I value a lot of players' opinion that played at a certain stature, a certain level to a certain point more than I do some analysts, because you've never played the game. He's been in those same position those guys have been in. He's put in the work those guys have been in, whereas I don't want to give any names and just throw blank shots out there, but any analyst that has never played the game to that platform and trying to tell Cam that he's wrong, like, you don't know what it's like to be a quarterback in the NFL and get hit like that and do what happened, right? So I value it more. Obviously, I know people think it's bitter, but he didn't come from a bitter standpoint when he said it. He was just saying, I just believe that they're game managers. And there's a lot of other people that he probably could have put on that list, but he didn't. Those were just the people that he did. So kind of just is what it is. But I agree with the point that you made, Harrison, and I don't want to continue to beat a dead horse here. I think it's really just early for Brock Purdy, and again, we're prisoners of the moment, and it could also be the same thing that we saw with Jimmy G before. Because it's literally that right now. That's what it is right now.
Brock Purdy has already defied the odds. He is, how many Mr. Irrelevance, quote unquote, have like succeeded in this league? Yeah. Or, guys, 7th rounders, undrafted quarterbacks. I mean, Tony Romo comes to mind, but Tony Romo never made a Super Bowl. But how much credit do we want to, like, we don't want to give Brock Purdy any credit for getting to the Super Bowl, but we want to, like, we'll say differently about Tony Romo, right? Like, Tony Romo should have got, or like we'll criticize him for not getting there, but we won't give Purdy any credit for getting there, or Jared Goff, or Jimmy G, or whoever, So it's just, we're all saying the same thing. It's a bullshit conversation, but there's plenty of football, hopefully, in this kid's career, and I wouldn't mind him under center for my team, because this is all I've wanted my entire life is just a confident quarterback that can move the ball down the field. I talk about it and complain about it all the time. So,
I'll say this before we move forward, because you mentioned and said in hindsight about Tom Brady. Tom Brady won in his first year, which was 2001, a Super Bowl. He didn't win the next year. Then he won 2003, and then they won 2004. So his conversation was a little bit different from a lot of other people. So
I mean, I recollect it a little different. I mean, I feel like even the first three, Tom Brady was the game manager. Like, and people did call him that for a very long time. And that defense did win them those 3 championships. I really don't want to hear any different. Like, that is just the flat.
Yeah, you can make the case, like, how many of those Super Bowl, like, did Vinatieri win, and the defense, or like the Tuck rule, or like different things. I know that wasn't a Super Bowl play. I'm just saying, like, there's caveats to every one of them, but like anything else, you could poke. Yeah, you could apply that to anything. But 100%. We're right. Let Brock Purdy breathe, man.
We'll let him breathe right now, but we're still going to talk about his team. So the Niners players didn't know about the new playoff overtime rules.
Is this confirmed?
How about it?
Is that confirmed?
Yes, they've openly said, what's his name? What's the fullback's name on the Niners?
Kyle Juszczyk.
Yes. Yeah. He literally flat out said in the press conference after the game, or his individual one, that we didn't know that was a rule. Armstead said the same thing. They didn't know.
So I didn't remember it, but I'm not a professional athlete playing in the Super Bowl.
I'm glad so, like, it's not your job to remember it.
Not my job.
It's not
Well,
Jordan.
that's a bad look. So
Yep.
I know there's
But
been a lot of
that's
conversation.
also going back to the conversation earlier about Andy Reid and Travis Kelce. Like, these are the type of conversations that you don't need to have get out. Like, your players should know that this is, even if you didn't know, you don't sit down and say it. You deny. Because now it looks hella bad on your coach that he didn't take,
Throwing him
because
under
it's
the
on
bus.
him that he didn't talk to you guys and prep you. And then there was I think it was a linebacker for the Chiefs. He said, Andy went through the overtime rules with us every playoff game we had, and 2 times for the run through for the Super Bowl. So they were prepared and they knew what it was. Also, they should know what it was because the rule changed because of their team. So
Yeah, right.
Because
Because Josh Allen never touched the ball, right?
Did they wonder like why the field goal went through and like no one was celebrating it? It's an odd. They definitely should have known. I don't disagree with them, wanting the ball first. Obviously, you get a ton of like advantages with getting it second.
Yeah,
but you also get a ton of advantages if you get it third. So first or third, I don't disagree with how they played it out. But if the players didn't really know what was going on, that's a tough look.
Yeah, what you said is a very clear way and kind of perfect way to put it, especially with that third part. But if you have to know who the other person is on the other side of the field.
True.
And it's Patrick Mahomes. And if you don't do what you're supposed to do, and also the mindset, Harrison, of you weren't moving the ball and you weren't scoring on this Chiefs defense. So I'm thinking, especially when they're down there, you're fourth, I think it was like 4th and 1. You're down there basically at the goal line and you don't go for it. You go for a field goal. If you want to put him away, put him away. Mm-hmm. Go for it. Because guess what? You have an opportunity. Either way, you're going to he's going to get the ball back, but force him to score a touchdown instead of getting into field goal position, because he can easily do that. We know that. But they would have been, if they didn't convert, they're now down on the goal line. You have one of the better defensive lines, right, and secondaries, and you can change something easily. I know Greenlaw going down was big for them, and that definitely changed some play calls for them for sure. Mm-hmm. But you definitely have a solid defensive. We talked about it in the beginning. They have that defensive line is phenomenal. So put that pressure on them, make Patrick Mahomes make a play in that end zone and get out and work all the way down the field. That would have just been what I would have done, and just say, F it.
I mean, I think it was tough for him because like we said last week, like I said, the Niners had to stay out of like 3rd and long situations. Mm-hmm. So like every crucial play in this game was a 3rd and long situation for them. And Spagnuolo dialed up the perfect blitz, I think 3 times.
They only converted 2 third downs. So yeah.
So he dialed it up every single time, and they were never really able to have that choice of like, hey, it's a 4th and 2, 4th and 1. Maybe once in the game they did, I think early on, but later in the game they just never had that choice, and the game just kind of slipped away.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. It sucks. It sucks for them. It doesn't suck for me. I'm super happy.
Fine either way.
I'm the happiest person in the world because I could not deal with the 49ers getting that. And I'm just so glad to watch Deebo Samuel cry. And I don't know if you saw if Fletcher Cox made sure he took the time to say to him after, but
yeah, that was nice.
It was lovely. I appreciate Fletcher Cox so much for that.
What did he say?
Karma's a guy that plays for the Chiefs.
He told Deebo, since Deebo was talking all last year after all this year about the Eagles winning and blah 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 and all this jazz, and if we have a quarterback, we'll win it all. And he kept talking about the Eagles every chance he could. So Fletcher Cox waited until this point in time to say what he had to say, and he said, "Keep the Eagles out your mouth. Keep the Eagles' name out your mouth." And then he basically told him to eat something.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll just leave it at that. You can go and look at it because he made it very, very clear in his Instagram and did not take it down. So I appreciate him for that.
Revenge is a dish best served cold.
Yep. And I loved it. Every second of it. It's been very entertaining because now it's like it's definitely a rivalry between the fan bases now, between Eagles and Niners. And it's very interesting of how I'm watching the motives or the conversation change of, we didn't have this and blah, blah. Listen, we were there last year. We lost to Mahomes too. But we didn't do what you guys did. You made sure we Brock Purdy, blah, blah. Okay, you had Brock Purdy this year. and you still lost. It's okay. It's Patrick Mahomes. We all understand collectively. It's Patrick Mahomes. Just deal with it.
Yeah,
Just
we're all
deal with it.
victims here. Yeah.
Yes, we are. We are.
Like when Michael Jordan was in the league in the 90s.
Yeah.
I'm very. It's just not going to happen. Like that's the worst Chiefs team we're going to see.
I know.
It's incredible.
So scary,
again, in hindsight, it's incredible that they won the Super Bowl.
They're not,
like 2 months ago.
A great team.
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
I mean, worse teams have won the Super Bowl, but
yeah, no,
their defense is going to look different next year because they're possibly not going to bring back Chris Jones, which is absolutely wild. They need to pay that man no matter what.
I think that
needs to be priority number one. But that Gay is also a free agent. A lot of guys actually on the defensive end are free agents and whatnot, but they need a wide receiver. And I know they were flirting with getting Devontae Adams during the trade deadline. Obviously, that didn't come to fruition. And why would the Raiders trade to the Chiefs as their rival? But I know they're definitely going to be in the market to try to get a solid wide receiver. And I'm sure some players will be like, let's go over there. I know what I get over there, right? So
that's the worst Chiefs team we'll see. I mean, they played, I think it was weeks 11 through 17 on a rest disadvantage to every other team they were playing. Divisional round on the road, conference championship on the road, like stacked up against them in the first quarter and the whole first half of the Super Bowl, and they still won. And they're going to be better. So, I mean, everyone buckle up.
It's wild the fact that Andy Reid and Kelsey have said, yeah, no, we're just going to run it back. We need to try to get that 3P. We're going to run it back. Like, why would they not? And they know that they're going to get somebody else. They know they're going to get somebody that's going to help out. Like, just think of it. Like, Pacheco fumbled the ball. I don't know if you guys talked about it like that while it was whatever was going on with my connection. But the fact that Pacheco fumbled the ball so early in the game after having that big play, which was like, it was such an emotional pull. And again, I know none of us are invested because it's neither one of our teams, right? But I was so like invested with that bomb that Mahomes had, and then Pacheco getting the ball and then dropping it, and then shortly following that, Kelsey and Andy Reid, right? So if just think about that. If they lose the game, that is talked about. I've watched multiple things on TV today, and nobody has talked about that fumble because of how the game turned out, right? So, Pacheco, you were safe.
There was so many twists and turns. Like I don't get the people that didn't enjoy this game. Like, was it the best played game? No. Was it the cleanest played game? No. Was it exciting? And was there so many just opportunities for this to go either way? 1,000%. This could have gone so different.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very much so.
Really, it was really a heavyweight fight, like just figuring each other out in the first half. I mean, I can respect it now, again, looking at it, but at the time I'm like, this game is a mess. Like, this is just a sloppy game.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: if you got the Chiefs on a rope, to close the analogy here, you gotta put them down because
that wasn't going to happen. That wasn't going to happen. You had a coach on the other end that had one of the biggest leads and the biggest collapse in Super Bowl history.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. He's going to choke every single damn time.
Yeah.
I don't know the same way.
Yeah. The same way the Lions did. Loosened up on the Niners. Same thing.
I mean, this is exactly what Andy Reid looked like in the beginning of his career, Hayes, and I know you remember, and I remember it really well. Yeah. So I'm not going to write the book on Kyle Shanahan yet.
I'm not either, because I believe he's definitely one of the greatest offensive minds that we've seen to this point.
He just overthinks it. He needs to find a way to dumb it down like Andy Reid did. And Andy Reid overthunk it a ton when he was with the Eagles.
Yes, he did.
Those NFC championships That's what the first half of that game reminded me of last night when I was watching the Chiefs. I was like, this looks like the freaking Eagles when Donovan McNabb was under center. So much pain. So, but that's what I would say for Kyle Shanahan. You got to just play to your strengths. Like, you're a mastermind, but you don't need to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Before we transition, I don't know if you guys said it or not, but Usher, man.
Usher.
Sure.
That was I sung to every song. I sung every song. I know a lot of people were concerned with the skates.
Clearly, you have not realized that Usher has been doing this at his residency for the past, 2 or 3 years. It's a whole part of his act. I know people were scared when he slid through, Will.i.am's legs. They thought he was going to take him out. People were confusing her with Northwest, Kanye's daughter. That was her. She's a phenomenal artist. Go and know
I love her, but I didn't know it was her.
Oh, I
didn't either.
I knew it was her from.
I love
jump.
Hers great. Yeah,
hers.
That was fun. It was fun.
It was a great time. I know a lot of people took away from the that performance his moment with Alicia Keys.
That was a bit much.
Well, I'm glad Swiss came out and said they're two giants, and it was a part of it. Like, I mean, what else is he supposed to say?
They're all grown. They're all grown.
Exactly.
I think just like Usher, the things that in the pop culture you remember for Usher, and then like he's all up on Alicia Keys. Like I looked at my friend, I was like, "Oh, Switzerland like this is not going to be good." But I was concerned about how this whole thing was going to look, and I didn't like it as much when I watched it live. But I did watch it this morning, and I was like, okay, like I think it was too busy
this morning.
His mic was really low to start.
Yeah,
it was. It had some issues there. I think Usher is more of a performer than he is, a singer, if you will. But I think. A lot of people were criticizing like the vocals and stuff, but he was just doing a lot. Like,
he's doing a lot.
It's just, that's who he is. I think he stayed true to like who he is. It was a little crowded for me. I think there was a lot going on, but that's kind of also, if you've ever walked the Vegas Strip, it's just kind of a lot going on at any time. So at second thought, it was good.
I think a lot of people missed what he was doing. It was like paying homage to Cirque du Soleil. Like you're in Vegas where it happens. It's all a part of it. Like Vegas is a circus. It made perfect sense of what he was doing. He made sure he added the touch of his residency. I just love the fact because I know you guys were talking about prop bets before, but it was people guessing what song he was going to come out to and whatnot. And you didn't know if he was going to use his like poppier stuff to like appeal to the people that may not know who he was, but he came out and did all his old stuff, the stuff that people really, really wanted. Like in my favorite song from him too. So it's just like, okay, you did it right for me, Usher.
I barely got the drop on my favorite song, so that's why I'm a little mad. So
that's very, very true.
Bad Girl played for like 5 seconds, and I'm like, we didn't even get the song. So it was great. Sam said it right. It was doing a lot, but that's Usher. Like Usher, he just does a lot.
Yeah. He also had to fit 30 years into 13 minutes. So
the man's got hits.
Yeah,
got hits.
Pretty hard to do that.
And it was just, you knew Little John was going to be there. He has, speaking of residencies, and like seeing Luda there, like JD, like it was fun. Like
it was good.
It all kind of worked out. I was at the bus stop this morning, put my kid on the bus, and the neighbor down the street who's like 9-10 years old, he was like, yeah, I like the halftime show. It was definitely for like all the old people though. And I was like, and then I felt it. I was like, I was at the bus stop listening to Usher, like, and now I'm dropping my kid. It was fun.
My old people moment. My old people moment.
Yeah, I was like, I guess
when I saw the Twister remake, that was my old people moment. I was like, we're redoing Twister now. That doesn't seem very old. I'm like, it's 30 years old. My bad.
It's that time, man. It's really, really that time. It was good, and just so people know, and probably wondering where Little John's been, he's been on HGTV, and he also has a meditation album coming out. So just thought
I heard about that. Yeah,
food for thought. Anyway,
I wasn't wondering.
Well, I knew you were, so I just let you know anyway. NBA trade deadline. It was very, very interesting. I 100% want to know what Harrison thinks, but I definitely want to know what you think, Sam, as being a Knicks fan. But my question to you both to start this off, what team do you think made the best deal or deals? So what team or teams did you think made the best deal or deals during the trade deadline?
I'm with you guys. The Knicks hit it out the park. And not just with the trade deadline deal, obviously with OGM and Nobi, and then adding Bogdanovich and Alec Burke back. So I don't think there's anyone even close to what they did.
Yeah, I have to say, just selfishly, with so much going on last week, I didn't really pay attention to all the smaller deals. I did pull it up when I knew we were going to talk about it, but I agree. I like Bogdanovich. Having Alec Burks back is going to be good. And I was confused by the OG trade. I know Hayes and I talked about it when, as it was happening or when it happened, but I know he's hurt right now, but to free up money and to get some more control and get a player like him was huge. And now you have a guy who can score, and the team's just playing really well. And I'm low key excited, really excited for this next team because I freaking know better. I won't do the same thing that I do with the Jets every year on this podcast, but
You should.
Yeah, I was definitely excited about that. But just looking at some of the other stuff, Buddy Hield getting moved, that's cool. He always gets traded around this time. Gordon Hayward,
the Buddy Hield one would be nice if Embiid was playing.
Yeah.
That's
like a move for next year, essentially.
Yeah.
And Gordon Hayward to the Thunder, that's interesting. I guess too. We should ask you, Hayes, what you think. I think even more telling of the teams that didn't do anything, that were kind of in position. I'd love to talk about that too.
You mean like the Lakers? Yeah, we'll get to that. So yes, I agree with both of you. Knicks for sure. I've had to talk several Knicks fans off the ledge when OG was sent to the Knicks, and they were, wow, Quickly's gone, Barrett's gone, and I said, do you know what Anunoby does? Do you know how phenomenal he is defensively? And he's going to a defensive-minded coach that wants defense. Do you understand what he does? I think did he lead the East last year in steals? I think he was up there in the top 3 to know. And obviously for a lot of people don't watch Toronto Raptors games, to be fair. So unless you're from Toronto or you're really like a diehard NBA person that you watch every team, you're not really watching and seeing what they do up north, right? But knowing what he did, my buddy, one of my best friends in the world, Kyle, he was talking about, he's like, yo, I don't like it. We're getting rid of Quickly. I said, I promise you were going to change what you said. And then I just saw him the other night and I said, so what's your thoughts now? He was like, yeah, nah, I was wrong. But I was like, I told you, just be patient. I understand to all Knicks fans, and I'm going to talk to Sam right now because he's here, but I understand to Knicks fans that you are jaded and you see things happen and you see players that you like and that you're attached to, and you think this is the end of the world. They're doing this terrible shit. This front office is not the front office of old. I can honestly say that, and I'm not a Knicks fan.
I'm in.
It is not the front office of old. They are absolutely doing what they're supposed to be doing for the team and building it up for the future. I'm sure people were confused before when they got Jalen Brunson. Nobody on the Knicks, no Knicks fan thought he was going to be what he was going to be outside of the people that watched him playing with the Mavs and seeing what he did, because it was a big mistake for the Mavs letting him just walk out the damn door. But that's that. The second team for me would be the Suns, because the Suns needed depth on their bench. So they traded with the Nets to get Royce O'Neal. They got David Roddy. I don't know who David Roddy is. Harrison probably does and can tell me who he is. But
for 3 second-round picks.
I actually don't.
Okay, well, fair enough. I've just been told he's good for depth. I know Royce O'Neal is good for depth. The Suns need it. So I think for them, in the sense of thinking about the playoffs, that's a good move for them. And then, I have an honorable mention because the team that I'm there, and it's because I'm a little biased, is because it's not going to help them this year, but it's going to help them in the future. But it's the Nets. They got 3 second-round picks out of that trade. They ended up getting Dennis the Menace and Dennis Schroeder. And then they also got, he has 2 years with them, I think, if I remember correctly. They didn't move Malik, who a lot of teams were calling for him. And they're just building around him in the future and getting those picks and building it up from there. So I'm liking what they're actually doing with that and not taking the approach of just going superstar, 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 because I'm sure they have a sour taste in their mouth after having 3 superstars and whatever you want to consider Ben Simmons to be. So, yeah.
Second-round picks are the new currency, man. Like
those second-round picks are going to be huge because that's what you're going to use to take Bronny so you can get LeBron James.
Oh, someone is going to.
Someone's going to do it. Someone's going to do it.
Someone's going to give him a first-round grade just so they can get LeBron. And I hate to say that. And Bronny could be even better than project out to be even better than he's going to be. That's the second LeBron said that, he put it on his kid that overvaluing his kid, and that sucks. But I
still believe Bryce is better, but we'll see how that goes. But I'm curious how Bronny's going to be. We'll see. He's got time. It's his first year in college. We have no idea what he's going to turn into. I'm not expecting him to be his father. I don't think anybody that watches him like that is expecting him to be his father. But I think he could have a good, solid career because he's a guard. He's like a true point guard, if anything, at that point. I just feel that he has to mold into this competition, right? You know what I mean? Like he plays because this USC team is not necessarily the greatest team at all. They do have 2 former top high school prospects on the team. But I think you're not going to really see the potential of that team until next year or maybe even the year after that. But I think Bronny has the opportunity to do it. I think he just needs to, just like anybody transitioning to the next level, you need time to get acclimated and learn how to play that way. But I think he'll be fine.
I'm just interested in what he does. I mean, he really should stay in school. I mean, he makes a good amount of NIL money.
Mm-hmm.
He just needs more time to develop. With that said, college game and NBA game are so vastly different.
Yes.
So developing in the NBA is obviously at a premium. I just would hate for it to go like kind of Zaire Wade's career.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're there for a second based off of the clout, and then you were kind of never heard from again. So
that hurt so much.
Yeah.
So had so much faith in him, and then going to the G League. But I do also like what they're now investing into the G League way more than what it used to be, and they're actually trying to use it as their minor league baseball, right? And utilize it and get these young guys to get called up. There's a particular young guy, that plays for the Long Island Nets that I wouldn't be mad if the Nets decided to call him up. He used to play for Marist or something like that, and maybe he would do something for the Nets. But, we'll see. Who knows?
He's playing all right.
I know. I've been watching. I know he's out in the Africa Cup right now, so I'm watching. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Shout out Egypt.
Yes, shout out Egypt for sure. Wow, this is
Or you don't want to go to trade deadline losers?
Oh yes. We definitely.
It's the Lakers.
It's the Lakers. Yeah, there's no doubt. It doesn't need to be anybody else.
After they won it last year, we were so high on what they did last year,
Yep.
and so excited for those deals. And they didn't do anything, did they?
Well, no, they did. They just picked up Spencer Dinwiddie yesterday, but they did nothing during the trade deadline, per se. I thought they were going to move D'Lo because they're not utilizing him. I thought they were going to move him and try to get some pieces back for him. They didn't do that. I know they were.
You signed him to trade him. Yeah.
Well, that's what I thought was going to happen. And then Bruce Brown, I know they were really high on trying to get Bruce Brown to add him as a piece. That didn't happen. A lot of people were high on Bruce Brown to add him to their team and whatnot, but he's still in Toronto, right?
Bucks could have used him. I'm a little disappointed in the Bucks too. I mean, I like Pat Bev, but he wasn't I don't know. I thought they could have did better.
Yeah. Literally his first game, he showed that he's still Pat Bev. And it was just
some things just won't change.
Pat Bev being Pat Bev.
They're struggling right now.
They are.
I think
I'm looking forward. Yeah, I'm looking forward to him being on the first take set the first week of April or whatever, because this is what he does.
Slamming Doc Rivers.
Yeah. I'm also one of the trades I think that surprised me just because he was with this team for so long, and then it just kind of happened was moving Steven Adams.
That was strange.
Yeah.
That was a weird one. that really caught me off guard because he's the anchor on that team when he's healthy, but that's probably the reason why they moved away from him is he still has value,
Yeah,
but
he
he's
hasn't.
never
He
really
hasn't been
healthy.
healthy. He hasn't been
Yes.
healthy in a while.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
especially like you can't really rely on Jaren Jackson to stay healthy. And I know, I mean, I know Tillman's the one center. Who's the other guy? He's on my fantasy basketball team. I don't remember his name,
Xavier.
but I mean, they have some.
Xavier Tillman.
Yeah,
think
they
it's
have
Xavier.
some. Yeah, they have some depth there, but it was still like it was
Yeah.
a interesting move, Hayes. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, it threw me off seeing it. I was just like, well, now you have no adults in the locker room, so what are you going to do now in these situations? And he was traded to the Raptors,
Rockets.
Rockets, yeah.
I mean,
And
like
they need an adult, so it's a good spot for him.
They do, but I also think, well, they definitely do, especially with Dylan Brooks. Any team that has Dylan Brooks on it, they need that, and he'll be back with his former teammate again. But I think that's a good move for the Rockets to have a big body like him. Again, it's all depending on his health, but they have a good young core. It just needs to mesh. And once that thing meshes, I'm telling you right now, they are absolutely going to be a problem because they're uber athletic. It's crazy how athletic that team is. So yeah.
Yep. They're fun to watch.
Yeah.
And I know one last thing we didn't touch on with trades. I know it wasn't deadline, but Siakam to the Pacers.
Yeah.
Toronto finally moved Siakam. You know, that Pacer team's fun to watch when they're all healthy for sure. Tyrese is, you know, ascending in the way we, you know, expected him to, and it's been a fun Neesmith. It's been a fun team to watch too.
Yeah, no, they're tough. I'm a little disappointed for Siakam. He goes from Toronto, which no one really watches, to Indiana, which the only people in Indiana watch. So,
shout out to Indiana.
But he's a great player. So if you don't realize it already, you should probably realize it.
Yeah, I think that's a phenomenal piece for them, especially that you know that they're gonna be in the playoffs because they are a good team, and that's gonna be you're gonna bring a guy on, or you brought a guy on that has championship DNA now. Right, and he's able to move the way he's able to move, and I think that's going to absolutely help that young team because again, it's a young team, but they are building out the right way. They're doing it to those that aren't paying attention, like Harrison just said, like nobody's watching Indiana, but those again that are watching and understand, you know that Indiana is building something deadly over there, and the East is going to have to worry about it. It's the East is. Watching what the East is doing now compared to what it was doing in the past when the West was just dominating everything, the East is no joke. East is no joke now. So I'm very, very interested to see what is going to come from the top 5 to 6 teams. So, yeah. All right, Sam, close us out here, man.
Yeah, man. At 123 in the books. Thanks so much for listening. Tell your friends. ChasingPointsPodcast.com. For Harrison, Brandon, I am Sam. Thanks so much for listening. Till next week. Peace.
Niners fans.
Oh no. Okay. I actually forgot he does.
Niners fans. How's it feel? Bye.
Ooh.